Well, hi there, everyone. This is David DeBow with this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. And as you can see, I'm back in my office, sitting in my office here, doing this solo because I got Wagner busy doing some other stuff. So sorry that we don't have the fancy background in the background, but it'll be a great episode nonetheless. So for our real estate tip, I'm going to share with you a very, very creative strategy. It's super simple, but I never thought of it myself before. Just picked it up from a young fellow I met at the recent Vancouver Investor Forum that I was at last weekend. So I think you'll like that. For our business breakthrough, I'm going to share a marketing concept with you that's just been hit home recently for me when I attended another event with Callan Rush and Justin Livingston, a 3-day intensive workshop a few weeks ago. Fantastic workshop. So I'll talk about that marketing idea for our business breakthrough. And for the Mindset Minute, we're going to talk about cracking the code. So stay tuned. All right. So for our real estate tip for this week, I met a young fellow, Aaron. Sorry, Aaron, if I don't remember your last name, but young guy, a realtor in Vancouver. And I was talking to folks about the whole rent-to-own strategy and my rent-to-own cash-on-demand system and all that kind of stuff. And he came up to me after the presentation. He talked to me a little bit, and he said, this is kind of similar to something that I'm doing right now. And basically what he does is he finds properties in downtown Vancouver, which are super expensive, but he finds rental properties, so apartments, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments, that kind of things. And he finds deals. So he finds places that he can rent or he can lease long term with the right to sublet. And then what he does is he turns around, he furnishes the apartment and he rents it out for a much higher price than what he's paying. So very, very smart. They say the best deal he's doing, he's actually got a long-term lease and he's got this place for $800 a month, which for anywhere near Vancouver is a steal of a deal. He furnished it, fixed it up, he's got it looking nice, and he rents it out for $1,800 a month. So there's a $1,000 cash flow spread there. And again, I'd never heard this idea of renting with the right to leasing with the right to sublease or sublet. So very, very smart idea, and it just goes to show you that there are tons and tons and tons of ways to make money with real estate investing. Another idea that you might get, I mentioned this a few weeks ago, is the idea of getting higher than market rents for your rental properties by furnishing them. Look at what this kid's doing. He's making a mint at it. Why couldn't you be the owner of that apartment and do the same thing? So that is your real estate tip for this week. All right, for our business breakthrough, like I said, I just came back from an event called Magnetize Your Audience, Fill Your Workshops and Seminars with Ease, and that was with Justin Livingston and primarily with Callan Rush in Vancouver. I attended that a couple of weeks ago, and very, very impressed with the event. I highly recommend that you check that out if you're at all involved in workshops or seminars, or you want to be. The way these guys do it is very, very smart and very congruent with educational-based marketing, which is what I'm going to be talking about today a little bit. So, we've all heard that it is really tough. It's very competitive to get new customers, clients, patients, investors in today's economy, in today's market. And what they were sharing there, which I was familiar with, but had forgotten, so I might as well learn it all over again, is what is your market really? So in your market, at any given time, there are 3% of the people in your market who are actively looking for whatever it is that you offer or sell, the product or service that you have. So that's the 3% that all you and all of your competitors are going after. So those people know that they are the target market, they know that they're interested, and they know they can drive a hard bargain to get the best deal. So unfortunately, most small business owners and entrepreneurs focus exclusively on trying to get that 3% of active shoppers to come into their business, into the store, and that's all that they're really looking at. The other part is 7% of your target market at any one time is open to buying your product or service. They're not maybe actively looking for it, but they just need a little nudge to be taken over the edge and be convinced that yes, they could use it now instead of waiting till later. 30% of your target market is aware that they have a need or a lack in the area that you service, but they're not really in a lot of pain. They don't really need it now. They don't really want it now. So it's just kind of in the background. Another 30% could use your product or service. So they are your target market, but they're unconscious of the fact they may need it or may want it. It's just not even really registering. So these 30% up here, they're aware that they have a problem. They're just not super motivated to do much about it. And then the bottom 30% are the folks in every market, in any market, that just simply for one reason or another are not going to buy from you ever. So maybe they don't like, my amazing hairdo or lack thereof. There's something about me or you that they just don't like. It just doesn't click with them. And they're, for one reason or another, they're just not going to do business with you, or they can't afford it, or what have you. So just got to be aware of those and not too concerned about them. But where the exciting thing is, and what these guys are talking about at the event, was that middle group there, those 7% that are open, 30% that are aware, 30% that are unconscious, that represents 67% of our target markets who are not actively, hotly looking for whatever it is we have right now. And that is the section of the market that we should really be working on developing. And how do we do that? Well, again, gets back to something I've mentioned before and something these guys really hit on, and that is called educational marketing. And that is giving people value, giving people education, bringing these folks that are open, aware, and unconscious to a much higher understanding of their situation and why they really need your product or service, and they should choose you above your competition. So we'll get more into that in future episodes, but I wanted to share that with you. And the idea of everybody's going after that 3%, let's start looking at the 67% that nobody's really addressing. That's your business breakthrough for this week. All right, so for this week's Mindset Minute, just want to talk a little bit about cracking the code. What does that mean? That means, at least for me, that means when I'm trying to do something new or something different, I'm trying to figure out a way to market and sell my product or service cost effectively and profitably as quickly as possible. So for me, cracking the code is figuring out a way to do that. So right now, I'm very actively looking at different ways of cracking the codes on different things, different products and services that we're going to be offering. But I think the mindset is we always need to be working at cracking the code. And if we crack the code, it's figuring out how to improve on that. Is there a way to do it even better? So if you're kind of stuck, if you're trying to do something, you need to swarm all over it until you crack that code and you can sell your product or service at a profit. Now, that might not be after the initial sale. It might be after the follow-up sale. But you've got to crack the code. Always got to be thinking about, how do I crack the code to sell my product or service at a profit? It's kind of a business type thing, but it is a Mindset Minute. So that is the Mindset Minute for this week. All right, I hope you enjoyed this week's kind of casual version of Canadian Profits TV. Speaking of casual, kind of reminds me of when I was at the 2012 Fast Track Super Conference. We went out for a few drinks. I think it was Saturday evening, a bunch of us and some of the Diamond members from Canadian Profits and Gold members and what have you, and came across this very, very interesting and quite tasty beer, but it's a Buddha beer. So I kept the bottle just because I thought this is very, very cool and brings back good memories of the Super Conference. Speaking of the Super Conference, if you weren't there, you missed a fantastic event. Again, the highlight being 2 solid days of Robert Kiyosaki up on stage doing hands-on training, which you rarely ever see outside of Scottsdale once in a while. He's not doing them very often, where he usually charges $5,000 for those events. So you, if you weren't able to be there, can get the next best thing, which are the Fast Track Super Conference recordings. And you can check that out and that's only going to be available for about another week. So if you're interested in that, go to superconferencerecordings.com, or I think there's probably a link either over there or over there that'll take you to it. Hope you have a great week. Take care, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.